Hi guys, today I'm just walking on one of my old favorite trails close to the house. I worked 7 shifts in a row, night shift, and I'm just feeling really antsy and just needing to get out of the house. So today's video isn't really going to be too much about this particular trail since I've covered it once or twice, and I kind of needed to just get out here to clear my head and get my body moving, and just a frustrating week, you know. So rather than keeping the camera on myself the whole time, which is kind of, some days it's just kind of annoying because I don't feel like I look my best, and honestly today is probably one of those days. This trail is the Mason-Dixon Trail out the Helen Hills section. This is one of the trails I first started on when I discovered that there weren't just 2 places in my local area that I could walk, and I was so happy when I discovered this trail. It was way more private, not so crowded. There was stuff to see, and there was a lot of different trails to take. I don't know what happened here. Must have been the storm. That stuff wasn't there before, but I haven't been here probably a month or 2 because I've been exploring lots of other local trails close to York, Pennsylvania. And my goal this summer was to basically get out and hike, you know, and put in some miles, but mainly to explore trails that I never knew existed, and to introduce them in whatever way I could to people in my community or anyone who might be coming down to this area, just to review some short trails from my perspective anyway. And this one here is probably one of the favorites because it is so private and because there's hardly ever anyone out here, and I know it really well. So I'm just gonna, you know, kind of walk along here and try to gather my thoughts today and get a little bit of inner peace, I guess. Now look, we're already starting to get pawpaws. If you're not from this area, pawpaws are fruit that there's a couple of things you can make with them. There's lots of recipes, I'm sure, online, and they are pretty prolific in this area. This isn't one of the trails I've seen them on before, but it's close to another trail that I have, and once they're ripe, they're really squishy, and on the other trail you're just stepping on them left and right, and it's kind of gross, especially when they're overripe. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and make this maybe a separate part of today's video, because I've been really hesitant to talk about this in any way on a format like this, because it's public and because I'm not trying to integrate political or religious or controversial belief systems on this format. I think one of the things that's really upsetting me right now, and previously it really didn't affect me, I think this year is just such a harsh year for people on both sides of the spectrum. Obviously the election is here, and we have 2 very divided sides to this, and right now it's just really hard, I think this year especially, to ignore or block out all of the emotional controversy and fighting and anger, because it's in our face all the time. And speaking for myself personally, I have many people in my life that I love very much, and many of them are on opposite ends of that spectrum. And 99% of them are also putting this stuff in my face all the time. Not directly, as in they don't come to my house and say, hey, let's talk about this, and here's how I feel. No, but it's out there on Facebook, which I have off and on been thinking about taking a break from for a while again. I did a 6-month break back in 2019, I believe it was, 2019, and it really reset my perspective on things. I mean, at that time, I was just getting tired of the community that I was in, fighting or arguing or being a certain way. And I also had some other stuff going on in my life, and I just needed the break. So, it was great. And right now, I'm starting to consider doing that again, because it's really, it's hard to stay neutral all the time. And if the people that I love would understand that it is important to me to be understanding for things and people on all sides of the spectrum. The only way to avoid that these days, I think, is to put yourself in a bubble and choose one side or the other, None of them think about how hard it is for their people like myself. I don't care, about all the rumors and the gossip and the stupid fighting and name calling, that's been going on for years. It's just more in our face now because of social media. But, I feel like I'm one of the lost people, in this whole thing. That on one hand, I love my family, and most of my family are right-leaning. But it's really hard to not see how they're choosing that side in some ways is hurting the people that I love on the left side. And in the same vein, it seems to me like a lot of the people on the left are not understanding how it is that people get to feel like they do on the right. And I try to be understanding to both, Now, I won't get into specifics here, but my feeling is this: why are people not concerned with the other side as well? Because we're all the human race, and we are called to love each other and support each other, not to be fighting all the time. It's just really starting to bother me. All along this trail is just this little, I don't think you can see it actually, hold on. It's this little trickling stream, and this is a tiny little tributary of the Susquehanna River. There's two of parts of this. I think this is Wildcat Run, and you get down to where they meet up, and it would be Donegal Run, I believe, in this area. You can see it much better towards the end of this section that comes out to the Susquehanna River. It gets a little easier to see. So another thing today that I've been thinking about as I'm walking, as far as hiking related, is my backpack. I end of last summer, finally got to a point where I could afford to buy one of these really expensive ultralight backpacks, and the one I chose was the Z-Packs Arcall 40 liter. I was really excited, and it was so much better than the cheap backpacks that I had been experimenting with that I got from Amazon, you know. But here's the thing, as I use it more, I realize I'm not happy with it. It doesn't fit me the way I want. And but here I've spent all this money on this pack. And no matter how I adjust it or questions I ask online about it, I just don't like it. I'm not happy with it. So I gotta figure out how I'm going to be able to deal with that. That means I probably want to buy another backpack at some point and kind of relegate this one to being just maybe an occasional day pack. People think hiking is cheap. It's only cheap if you're not going far and you're just staying local. Or if you have a really strong back and no medical problems and you're young and you're just bouncing through the woods. You know, I have a lot of other things to consider. You know, my back isn't the greatest. I've been a nurse for over 20 years and I'm getting older, and also I'm short and I'm busty. So I have other issues to think about when I buy a pack. It's just one of those things I get to think about while I'm out on the trail. I think stuff like this is pretty cool. I kind of like feel like I'm an artist as well, so, but I do painting. But it kind of looks to me like if I could just cut this off and kind of smooth it out, it would be a great artistic piece for my house. I'm just silly. So as any hiker, you know, regular hiker will tell you, hiking can be so therapeutic. You know, you get to be out and surrounded by all this lovely flora and fauna, you know, the woods, and you hear the birds, and it's just such a, you can get into your zone, and it's not a chore, it's not a task, you know, especially if you're not going on a difficult trail. You're just kind of in this space in the woods. And for me, a lot of that means alone time to regroup. It's very healthy for me to do this, and I suspect for a lot of other hikers out there. Get you out of the environment you're in that may be shooting stressful things at you all the time and causing anxiety. For me, on top of, you know, that rhetoric, I get away from the house, so I don't see all my housework that needs done. I don't think about all the bills that need paid, you know, and all the other problems of regular life out here. There's none of that. And we're coming up onto where it kind of crosses over Donegal Run here. There's actually, they recently put in these little steps and stuff on this trail to make things a little easier. And they repainted all the blazes, which is really cool actually for, you know, beginning hikers. It's great. I could kind of get around this trail with my eyes closed, but here we are. A kind of little trickling stream. The other side of this trail that used to be the main way to go through, which they've rerouted, and I believe that one's part of just the Lancaster Conservancy now and not the Mason-Dixon Trail, is goes across this at a different place, and there's a little wider stream of water there. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm walking today, and this has happened to me off and on, and you suddenly realize that the forest is quiet, and you don't hear any birds, or you don't hear any crickets or anything like that, and it's kind of creepy. Like, why are they all being so quiet all of a sudden? Right now I can hear a few miscellaneous birds here and there and some crickets, so it's not so bad, but just a little ways back I stopped and there was nothing. Creepy. Here's another little place that I think is kind of cool. I mean, this trail is nothing spectacular, but it has some cool little things if you like, you know, just finding different water features, and this one sometimes has water running through it, but you can go around and past it to another little section that has water. Still trying to be careful, and I can't wait until it gets cooler out and all the snakes go away and go home and stay out of my way. I've been pretty lucky so far that I haven't seen or experienced any snake problems, or I don't think I've seen a snake on the trail except for one time I saw the tail end of one taken off through the brush. But still very leery because, okay, you got rattlesnakes out there in PA. That's one of the venomous snakes. And then you got, but they have rattles, so you can kind of, maybe hear them. But then there's the babies. And they can be anywhere. They're tiny and they don't really rattle. But they still bite. And then you have copperheads, and they don't make any noise. In addition to that, they look like some other snakes that are harmless. So, it's really kind of difficult, I would imagine, to know if you weren't an expert, and I certainly am not. So for now, I'm still terrified. But when October comes, they start to go in, and I can freely enjoy the outdoors without the night terrors. So I'm on my way back now. I decided before I came out that I wasn't going to go too far. Just enough to get a little fresh air. So about 2 miles, out and back. And, it helps a little bit. Back to the stream. That's always nice. Easy to get across this one. Now on the way back, it's mostly uphill. So, gotta deal with that. But the reason I only wanted to go a little bit today as well, excuse me, is because I finally have 3 days off after the 7 days of working. And so I plan on going to several other areas to do some videos this weekend. And I wanted to at least get my legs moving again, since it had been a week since I had done so. And it takes a little bit of time, and I'm out of breath already. So the other thing I've been thinking about is my plans this past year include selling my property. And the reasons behind that are pretty simple. Number one, the traffic. It's loud, it's annoying. I hate trying to get out of my driveway because I can't see around the corner and all kinds of stuff like that. One of the neighbors has 4 dogs that bark constantly, and just those things. But the other part of it is I don't want to go into retirement with a huge mortgage over my head, so I'm trying to find a place to downsize to. And ideally that would be a tiny little property and some acres of land that I could kind of roam around in the woods, because it would be so much nicer if I could just go and not have to drive somewhere, or and park and pack everything up. Hear the birdies. So that's been on my mind, and I've had 2 properties that fell through in the past 9 months. First I had to get my house up to where it needed to be. There wasn't a lot, but it seemed like a lot to make it look good, for selling, and make sure everything was repaired. And trying to talk while I'm going up hills
while
is crazy.
I'm catching my breath here.
You can see the signs of fall. all along the trail. We have, most years, if there's been a lot of rain, we have beautiful displays of leaves and stuff in different colors in our woods. And some years when that doesn't happen, we don't have a lot of rain, it's so disappointing, because then all the leaves just fall off, turn brown, you know, nothing exciting. But this year, as you can see, I took some pictures of leaves up close and stuff. It's nice to see that already we have some leaves of color falling, and hope that lasts so that all this greenery will become brilliant yellows and oranges and reds for a little bit, for a short period of time. So these here are the pawpaw trees. We have some growing here and they're starting to bear fruit. As I said, this isn't one of the trails that they had a lot on, at least in the past, but that's what their leaves look like. And there's some fruit up there. I can get it in there. So soon they'll be falling and squishing under my feet. So I'm out here in this ridged area and I see a little deer up there. My camera won't zoom in any closer. He's just up there watching me from afar. This is one of the open areas on this trail. So I'm just going to complain real quick here. If you have a dog and you're taking them out on trail, number one, bring stuff to clean it up. Several times on this trail and other trails, I've stepped in or almost stepped in your pet's doo-doo. I don't think you'd like that to be present in your area of solace. And if you do bring those little baggies along, don't be a hypocrite with it and leave said little baggies along the trail for other people to have to clean up after you. I mean, seriously, how old are these people? Yeah, that's something I would expect from a child or a teenager. Grown-ups, adults should know better. You can probably hear in the background getting closer to my car, the traffic, and it is actually going to be in the peak of rush hour when I leave here, so it'll just keep getting louder. So back in my car and getting ready to go home, and this will be my first night off in a while, and I'll probably just go home and finish some housekeeping tasks and then, you know, chill out and watch some Netflix and stuff later. I hope you enjoyed following along with me today, and you know, my ramblings and rantings and philosophical point of views on the trail. Sometimes I don't really, you know, have the time to go to new and exciting trails, but I do enjoy making videos, and that keeps a record for me, regardless of how many people see it and how many don't, of the trails and the time that I've spent outdoors. And a lot of times I will just watch some of the trails that I've done over and over again, because when I can't get out there, it reminds me that I have a place to go when I do have the time to relax and, you know, enjoy nature. Anyway, I hope you're all having a very nice week, and I hope to see you the next couple of videos that I'm doing this weekend on some new hikes that I'm doing. So enjoy the weekend, and namaste.